We remember her. Alveda came and spoke in our church, and we're so happy to have her. Would you please give her a round of applause, a thundering round of applause? We're so happy to have her. Now that's the Philadelphia style.
So one of the questions, I did a lot of research on her. There were things I didn't know about her. There's probably more she doesn't know about me. One of the questions I wanted to know, you became a Christian at 32. How did that happen? Could you tell us a little bit of that testimony and what brought you to the Lord? Growing up in the family you grew up, it was like Ruth Graham, she struggled too. So you just assume if you're Billy Graham's daughter and Martin Luther King's niece, you're going to be a Christian. It doesn't always happen that way. Could you tell us about that?
Let me say this real fast, though. It's such a joy to be here with Sarah and her husband. She's delightful. She's funny. I don't know if you can handle both of us up here at the same time, but and
We'll
to see
try.
Pastor Lusk and his family, that's such a joy, too, because I met him a long time ago when they started. But in 1983, I was an actress, songwriter, and all those kinds of things, very popular. I was married to a wealthy physician, and you thought I had everything. I was on top of the world. But I had had 2 secret abortions and a miscarriage and all of that. And I was married and had been elected to political office and all of that. And I went to work at a college. Atlanta is now Atlanta Metropolitan College. And there was a woman there, Sarah, who carried a big book in a binder, and it had a big cross on it. I didn't have enough sense to know it was a Bible back then. And they said, don't talk to her. Don't talk to that lady. She's a fanatic. So in those days, if you told me not to do it, that's the first thing I was going to do. So the lady was an apologist, and she led me to Christ using that Bible. And every question I asked her, she was able. And I had grown up in church and all of that, and preacher, daddy preacher, granddaddy preacher, uncle. But I was sitting on the front row singing in the choir on my way to hell. That's exactly how it was. So when she led me with the sinner's prayer, Romans 10:9, I became a born again Christian in 1983.
You've been very open and honest in the past about the 2 abortions you just referenced. In researching again and reading some things, you described the first one, was it? That was like you didn't even know you'd had it?
Right?
Could you explain that?
I can, and I don't know if you're going to come back to this later. So even when I was conceived, and abortion was illegal, but my mother wanted to finish college. And so her mother said, let's go talk to our pastor who's going to be your father-in-law, Martin Luther King Sr. And back then, they were not doing legal abortions because that was in 1950, but they had a process called a D&C. And so all you had to say was, my stomach hurts and I don't know why. That's all you had to say. And you go to a doctor and they remove everything to examine it. Okay? So granddaddy at the time said, you can't do that. I saw this baby in a dream 3 years ago. She has bright skin and bright red hair, and she's going to bless many people. That was me. He saw me in a dream 3 years before. So prophetically, I was going to, years later, get married, be a feminist, vote for abortion and all the things that was going on at that time. And I was going to have 2 abortions. One was a D&C, and the doctor did it when I went back after my live birth to see if I could get a rabbit test. That was real barbaric back then. You had to, long story, how they found out if you were pregnant, but it involved taking fluid from the mother, shooting it in the rabbit died, you were pregnant. Okay, barbaric if you're under 40.
I'd forgotten about that.
Rabbit test, but instead of doing that, he said, you don't need another baby, let's see. He did an examination, but it was a local D&C without anesthesia in his office. So here I was, not quite figuring out what had happened. And then he says, well, don't talk to your family. Don't tell your family about this. Don't tell anybody at church. He was a trustee on the board at the church. But go to this place, Planned Parenthood. They're pretty new in town. This was in 1970, and they'll tell you what to do. So for the next 3 years, I became one of Planned Parenthood's biggest clients. 1973, I'm separated from my first husband, had the live baby and the abortion that he had done with the DNC, and I was pregnant again. But on my birthday, January 22nd, abortion became legal in 1973. So a few months later, I had a legal abortion. And they were lying, it's a lump of flesh, it's a blob of tissue, it won't hurt as bad as pulling a tooth. Well, yes, it does, it hurts worse, with much longer effects. So I went through all of that, but then I get pregnant in the mid-70s, and I'm going to have an abortion on my own. Now it's legal. And I agree that a woman has the right to choose what she does with her body, and she does, but the baby's not her body. See, they don't explain that. So here I am, and Granddaddy says, oh, no, no, that's my great-grandchild. We're not doing that. And so I married the father of that child, and we had 5 children together. So that's how I have 6 living children, 2 aborted children, and a miscarried child.
Well, you can speak to this topic from many angles as a result of that. Okay. One of the ways in which you have described abortion, you've called it a womb lynching, you've called it a crime against humanity, and racial discrimination.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I know from my exposure and my experience in the field that more black babies are aborted than are born alive, which in a sense is racial discrimination. A lot of the pregnancy abortion clinics are put up specifically in neighborhoods like that.
Yeah.
How can we turn that tide? Is there any way to turn the tide? Because like we said in our video, a mother and daughter come in at the same time, 30 and 15, pregnant at the same time. Is there a way to break the cycle?
You are a super investigative reporter. I want to mention that. And your
I'll put
questions
that on my
are
resume.
so good. But when we look at this, and right now, and it's kind of in the news, somebody is saying that we have to have abortion for population control. But see, a long time ago, they wouldn't say that out loud. It
No.
would be a secret.
Yeah.
You have the Office of Population Affairs. You have the Monahan Report and all that kind of thing. And so Margaret Sanger, who founded Planned Parenthood, colored people are like weeds. They need to be exterminated, but we don't want that word to get out. So let's give grants and awards and that kind of thing and get their leaders used to talking about it. And they'll take care of their own people. So that's kind of what happened to us. And I was a victim of that as well until I became born again in '83, and I began to confess my sins and to ask God to forgive me as I forgave others. Yeah.
I'm assuming, right or wrong, that the majority of the people sitting here tonight have a heart for this ministry, have a heart for the unborn. And I'm assuming all of you belong to or attend a church on a regular basis. How can we, Alveda, how can we as Christians, black, white, and everything else, how can we actively help in a very practical way? We can pray, we can write checks, we can do all of that.
We have to do that, of
We
course,
have
but
to
that's
do that.
the beginning.
But yeah, after we
beginning.
begin, then what?
Well, that's why Pastor Lusk here, I met him and I found out about the Hope Center. It was one of the first pregnancy care centers I knew about. And it was in an African American community, and it was a big work that he was accomplishing. And so, first you pray, and then you attend an event like this. When they ask you to write a check, write the biggest one you can. But then they're going to say, don't forget about us. And every month, put us on, let it come out of your debit or your credit, however that works, and remember us. And then come and visit us and volunteer and bring things for the families there. And certainly you always want to vote for life. It's the weirdest thing. We love Jesus, we love the word, and then we'll go vote for abortion. I still can't figure that out. It's just, it doesn't compute. So you pray, you give, you volunteer, you vote, and you still teach people there's a better way. Give them real choices, real choices.
When she said we need to pray and write a check, I'm going to put in a plug now. We are going to ask you for money later. I'm going to say this because the person that's going to ask you is a lot nicer than I am. But whatever number you have in your head, add a 0 to it. Just 1 0, that's all. Okay, how can the, go ahead. It's next, okay. Moving forward, we know now what we can do. And I think right now is the time that we have a little surprise, okay? Everybody take your seats and, oh, what's that up there?
Okay.
Anybody recognize anybody on that
The
picture?
second person from the top on the left is Reverend Dr. Herbert Lusk. I'm going to ask him to stand up. Come on, stand up, stand up.
Come on, Herb.
Up. Okay, I brought him a gift tonight, a wonderful book, and he's not one of the authors there, but this is the next book that's getting ready to come out, giving the history of the Black pro-life movement in America, 19th, 20th, and 21st centuries. And we have some pioneers. And one of my favorite pioneers is sitting here tonight. So one more hand. We couldn't give it away. We couldn't give it away. We couldn't. And so in the book, it'll talk about many things that happened, but Tony Evans, Herbert Lusk, Daphne Nicely, and Barbara Thomas are some of the pioneers that have fought very hard to bring these services to the African American community. Give God the glory one more time. So that's just that will be in the book, but that's the draft. The book is still being put together, and it'll be out probably in October. Okay.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Herb, for all you do. Okay, we all have friends, pro-choice friends, or people who say they're pro-choice. I wouldn't have an abortion, but it's fine if you do, kind of a situation. How do we talk to them?
Somebody asked me that on the radio the other day. Well, you've had abortions, so aren't you a hypocrite telling people don't get abortions? I said, my God, they hurt me. They wounded me. They hurt my body, gave me the risk of breast cancer, cervical cancer, depression, all that comes with that. I said, and my babies are not here. They are in heaven, but they're not here. And it hurt me. So if I can tell the truth and say to women, if I can tell the truth and say to daddies who regret the lost fatherhood, if I can help one person not hurt the way I hurt,
Yeah.
then it's worth it. And that's why I do it.
Yeah, that's why I do it. That's exactly why I do it. I second that because I too had an abortion, which is one of the reasons I'm sitting here. Because of what she said. You don't ever want anybody to experience what that is. You think you're doing the right thing, you're not. You know you're not. In your heart, you know you're not doing the right thing. You're being selfish and thoughtless and caring about nobody but yourself. Okay? And the pain lasts your whole life.
Or scared. Sometimes people are scared too.
Well, scared,
Or
yeah.
pressured. You know, if you don't do this,
The boyfriend will leave if you don't have the
parents will
abortion.
kick you out of the house, so
Right.
you won't graduate.
Right.
But that's what we're here for. There are options. There is a
Yeah.
better way. There is
Right.
a choice. And you see on the video, you can see how much good they're doing. Wow.
We have to let women know, A, if they've had an abortion, they're forgiven, and B, there are choices. I do probably 10 adoptions a year. I help people create forever families with babies that someone else doesn't want. Mother Teresa said, there are no unwanted children, only unwanted pregnancies. Every child is wanted. God doesn't allow a child to be created that he doesn't have a place for. We have to remember that. As Christians, we have to stand up and speak up, okay? All right. I'm not the speaker, she is.
You're doing well. We both are.
Yeah.
It's us together. We're like sisters, you know? We are.
Hope Center is unique in many ways. One, it serves primarily an African American community, and Herb has taken abuse and all kinds of things. And I can't relate for obvious reasons, but we need to eliminate the color issue. And how do we do that?
People ask all the time. I've met many racists in my life, and I've met people who are not racist. And the real definition for a racist, and it really doesn't have as much to do with skin color as we think, because anybody can be a racist. A racist really is a person who thinks that skin color divides the human community into different races and tries to define a human being by skin color. And then one race has to be superior, one race has to be the victim. There's one human race, science proves that, and the Bible says, of one blood, God made all people to live together on the face of the earth. And so we have to repent to God, Father God, about the lie from the devil that I'm a different race. And so if my race wants to be superior, I've got to make another race inferior. So racism is really a Western socially engineered concept. We are one race. And that's why people would ask me, and they'd go, my race needs to get along with your race. I'm colorblind. I said, if you're colorblind, you need glasses. Because you can't see. Jesus gives sight to the blind. So it's not cute. I'm colorblind. I don't see color. Something's wrong with you really bad. We have to see color, but celebrate color. Because I used to do this, see if I can do it tonight. Y'all don't know, I am a Christian. I'm sorry, but this is Star Trek, okay? You know, little the boy. So I've said, okay, what planet were you born on if you're not one human race, okay? So we have to stop being racist and consider. That's why my uncle Martin Luther King Jr. said we must learn to live together as brothers. And I'll add as sisters. He didn't say cousins. He didn't say different races. He said brothers, and I'm saying sisters. So what difference does it matter what color your hair is, your skin is, and all that kind of stuff?
Good, thank you. If you had one opportunity, and this is it right here, to speak to this people, and we have a cross-section here of colors and genders and denominations and who knows what in the room. What is the single most important thing you want them to take away from this night in terms of their role in saving lives beyond the prayer and the money? What can we do? How can we do better? I mean, abortion is going down. The number of abortions is dropping. We don't know why, but that's a good thing.
That is.
It's a very good thing. But what would be, if you can winnow it down to one thing, what would that be that you can think of?
Well, abortion is going down. Hope Center can tell you why, because they're saving babies. That's one thing. That's one reason. And so what we all must do is to do our part. Everybody in here can pray. And everybody in here can give. That's the beginning. But not just the biggest gift you can give tonight, but then every month, because they'll depend on that. And then you have to vote for life. And Christians, oh, well, I don't have to vote because let God handle it. I'm going to write Jesus on the ballot. Come on. Give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and God what belongs to God. So do your civic responsibility. And then teach and advocate. So do your part, and it will work out just fine.
Yeah, okay. Well, we can all pray. We know that. And that is, we underestimate, I think, in many cases, the power of prayer. Prayer changes things. It truly does. We've all, I'm sure, had an experience, at least one in our lives, where someone prayed for us and things changed. And God's listening. God creates these lives that He's asking us to stand up and fight for. There's a bill now before Congress. I don't know that I have the right name, Born Alive Survivors Act.
Infant Protection Act. Or something like that.
There are states, as you know, that are allowing babies to be born and then terminating their life.
Yeah. New York passed it, Virginia either passed it or tried to. Another state is trying to sweep the country. But people are fighting back. I just heard everybody go, no, that really is happening, honestly.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And Alveda's on the board and a representative of an organization called Priests for Life that are very, very, very active in the pro-life realm.
Right.
Can you speak to this act and how can is there anything we can do? Call our representatives, call our congressmen, our senators, what?
We left a yellow card on your table. You can fill it out if you want to get more information. I'm at civilrightsfortheunborn.com. It's not just about black babies or red babies or yellow or brown. It's about human babies.